Welcome back to PR After Hours. I'm your host, Alex Greenwood, bringing you your weekly cocktail of PR and marketing tips that will help you and your business. Stick around. We'll get started right after these messages. Hello, listeners. It's me, Alex, from PR After Hours. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. And I wanted to talk to you just for a moment about the way I get this show right into your earbuds every week. It's because I use Anchor FM. Now, I've told you previously that I've been podcasting since 2006, back when we used stone knives and bear skins and a couple of Dixie cups and string. Anchor FM has really streamlined this and made it simpler for people who don't know the first thing about setting up a podcast or don't have, time to learn all the pro tools and stuff, because it's all right here. First thing it's important to know is it's free. There are certain tools that will allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. That's huge. Distribution is a big pain in the butt, to be honest with you, so it's really great Anchor FM can do that for you, and you're not paying hosting fees. That adds up every month. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place, so download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started, and be sure to join me in the virtual cocktail lounge on PR After Hours. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But have you been there, done that, and got the t-shirt? Now's your chance. If you are a big fan of the virtual lounge right here at PR After Hours, why don't you tell the world and take our spiffy logo and plaster it across your chest for the whole world to see? Well, for the whole world to see on Zoom or whenever you do finally get out of your house. The PR After Hours tee shows that you're an exclusive member of the virtual lounge. It's a cool, comfortable, ring-spun, soft cotton tee. We look for the best possible options we could go for in these t-shirts, and it's in a variety of colors. You can get them in dark heather gray, royal blue, storm, maroon, or good old-fashioned white. These are really comfortable shirts. We offer a premium unisex tee from extra small all the way to 4XL, and a women's slim fit tee, which goes from small to 2XL. They are a hoot, they look cool, and besides, they'll do what we love to do most here at PR After Hours, start a conversation. The PR After Hours t-shirt is available now on Bonfire. The link is in the show notes, and I hope you'll look into getting one. I not only think they look cool and be great conversation starters, but they'll help us keep the virtual lounge doors open. Thanks so much. Branding. Boy, that is a loaded word, isn't it, folks? I mean, it's so much more, though, than simple choices about your logo, your color palette, and all that stuff. An effective brand is one that resonates deeply with the ethos of your mission, which delivers reputation, social impact, partnerships, sales, and it also plays a key part in the formation of your overall business strategy. And, here in the virtual lounge, we're not just PR. We're talking about the big picture, and all the good PR in the world is not going to help you if your brand is not on target. That's why I'm very excited to speak with Valerie Forgeard today. She is the founder and director of Stunning Brand. She is the founder and director also of World Citizen Artists. She's lived and traveled abroad for 16 years, has worked with over 100 nationalities. She's led communications at the Big Data United Nations Global Platform, represented exclusive brands in the corporate world, including LVMH, Issey Miyake, Alberta Ferretti, SAP, and Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And she's fulfilled several fundraising missions. This is what I love, for Amnesty International, the Pasteur Institute, and the Marie Curie Institute. Valerie Forgeard, welcome to the virtual lounge.
Thank you very much for having me on your show. I'm very flattered and very honored, and Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you. It's the first time we've had anybody from New Jersey on the show, so I'm really glad you're here.
New Jersey. I wish.
That accent's New Jersey, right? It's got to be. Come on. Where are you, Valerie?
I'm based in the UK. I'm originally South Korean, but I grew up in France, which is why my New Jersey accent is so strong.
I love a good sport. Thanks so much for putting up with me already. She's already regretting it, folks. Valerie, I really, doing my research about you, I appreciate that your approach to branding and trying to explain that to people. My difficulty with clients explaining about how it's almost a cliche, I think. You are your brand, and your brand will suffer if you do X or Y or Z. Perhaps you could just start us off and just say, beyond what I've already said here, but what's your take on a brand? Is it the most important thing an organization has, or what?
It's, I would say, yes, it's the most important thing because it is, I see a brand as a person. And if that person is only shouting, buy from me, everybody will run away. But if that person has qualities and is friendly, warm, and has an understanding of people, you're more likely that your brand is going to do well. So with clients, I always explain to them in a simple way, we're not going to put a sticker on you with a price tag. We're not going to say do this, do that, or don't do this, don't do that. We're going to look very deeply into the personality of your brand, which is usually your personality because you're the creator of your brand usually, or the representative. So it is very important to understand what is the personality of the brand rather than just the logo. And it's like a person. You can have a person who is extremely physically beautiful and elegant in style, but if that person has nothing interesting to say, or doesn't listen to people, or doesn't have any personality, then she's not going to last long in a party.
You know what? You're not going to believe this, but that has been my go-to metaphor, analogy, whichever, of talking about branding, and particularly on social media. I said, if you view yourself social media as a party, you don't want to be who? You don't want to be the guy who won't shut up about himself, first of all, right? That person's annoying. You can't get away from the guy who's just pounding down drinks and going, well, let me tell you what I did last night. After a while, that gets pretty old. So you don't want that. But then you jump right into, you could chat at a party with the best looking man and the most attractive woman. And in about 5 minutes, if they run out of things to say and they're not interesting, then you're kind of yawning and wanting to get away from them as well. I love that. I mean, that's the way I think people should think about brands, is as a person. Is there a first step? Let's pretend that I'm coming in and I'm going to talk to Stunning Brand, and I've got a company and I want to do these things. What's the first thing you want to find out about me if you're thinking about working with me?
I want to find out about your goal. So, for example, many of my clients are interested in making a social impact because that's what I specialize in, social impact branding and cross-cultural branding. And usually my first question is, why do you care about making a social impact? And usually the answer, everyone answers, because I want to help. And I say, why do you want to help? And that's when they get a bit nervous with me. They're like, because I want to help, I want to do good things. I said, well, everyone wants to help. Even President Trump wants to help. Everybody says they want to help. Well, they say it. Some people say it and don't really apply what people perceive. So normally my first step is to find out what is the story behind the intention, and that's very sensitive. I may have less clients than some other people, but I've got the clients who are really driven by what they want to achieve and willing to do the work for it.
That gets back to authenticity too, which these are words that are thrown about quite a bit, but it's true. I've told the story previously on the show about I had a potential client get a hold of me who wanted to help out during the pandemic. I'll just make this part up. They wanted to put out hand sanitizers or something. And I said, oh, okay. They were a little behind the eight ball on that because that had already been going on for a couple of months. And I said, well, I asked that question, not as eloquently as you, but I asked basically the question. I said, well, what are we up to here? Are you just wanting to let everybody know that this is available? Oh, no, no. We want everybody to know we gave it away so they'll buy our other stuff.
Hmm.
And I said, you get points for being honest with me. But I don't think I can work with you on that because, yeah, that's so is that a fair illustration of what you're talking about, perhaps?
Yes, authenticity is extremely important. And I have the privilege in the organization World Citizen Artist that I created to also work with the millennial. And the millennial are interested in what's behind your intention. They're not interested just in the image. They want to know, are you ethical? And they will dig in. They will do all the research. And for example, if we have potential partners, I ask them to research them. And they will find information that even I haven't had the chance or the time to find. They're very quick with technology. They can find out the pattern of people as well. They're very good at this. They're definitely, their mind is data driven. They're making the data themselves by checking everywhere. So it's I think for now the old way still can work. But for companies who want to last for more than the next 5 to 10 years, I think they're going to have to really get into the authenticity because it's going to be easier and easier. And with AI as well, AI will do the work on finding your patterns and see if who you are and what you say is real and consistent. So the best thing is to make it real, make sure it's real.
To see if you're walking the walk as well as talking the
Yeah.
talk, as we say, in the U.S. Well, there are so many aspects of branding that I would love to ask you about, and I know you have limited time, so I wanted to ask you. I think this might be an area that everybody, our listeners, who I may have mentioned, we have entrepreneurs, small business owners, public relations professionals, marketing professionals, and then there's just interested parties who want to hear what goofy thing I might say the next. So, but we're not worried about them today. Let's talk a little bit about something that I think touches everybody. It's if you don't mind, it's the personal brand. Now we talked about authenticity and how corporate brands, how companies who aren't human though should brand as if they are humans, because that's the best way to interact and to build your reputation in a positive way. Could you give me, if you don't mind, some personal branding? I'd love it if you could come up with a couple or three personal branding challenges people face, particularly now in the pandemic when everything is virtual. Are there some challenges that we all face that you might have some tips on how to handle?
Being yourself. That's the hardest for people because they've been building so much image thinking this is what people want, and by going with what they believe what people want, they become like everybody else. They just try to make the same image and show the same empathy, and which means then they don't stick out. They don't stand out from the crowd. And there's so much competition now on social media that the best way to stand out, I believe, it's to speak from the heart. But to speak from the heart is is not something that professionals are used to, and it's also to know where the line is, because speaking from the heart is one thing, but you can't tell everything. Otherwise, you might not make too many friends. So it's to really understand to understand people and to understand what are your strengths and also your weaknesses. And the biggest challenge for people is to admit their weaknesses to me. I'm not going to post it on social media or anything, but knowing the weaknesses, then we can avoid making mistakes on the type of branding.
Yeah, I've probably experienced this in my I know I have, as a matter of fact, is I think I'm fairly authentically who I am. At least I have been the past few years. As I get older, I think as you get older, I think there's two beneficial things about getting older. One is you gathered experience, and you start to know who you are. And two, you don't really care necessarily. You care, but you don't really obsess about what people think of you all the time, like you do when you're younger. But I think though that I'm a pretty candid, open person. And I think though that I've had to be careful just to not be overly familiar too soon with people it's not a rush or a haste to be like, hey, look at me, I'm authentic. It's who I am. And I want people to feel at home with me. But I think some people, like you said, they're professional, but they're like, oh, this guy's nice, but he needs to kind of, back off a little bit and not be quite so.
And it's usually very quickly obvious because the keywords always come out. Check my website. Go to this link, and, and that kills it. And I don't usually try to do the check us out, or even like huge paying advertising. Or at the end of the day, people can feel if something is authentic, and confidence as well is a big part. If you're authentic and confident with your authenticity and your intentions is good, then you have nothing to hide, but you have nothing to show off as well. So it's finding the middle ground, being normal, like we were saying earlier on, like at a party.
That's
that
true.
makes sense.
Yeah, you don't go to a party and start telling everybody what you told your therapist last Tuesday. Yeah. I've got this issue here I've got to talk about. No, that's a great point, Valerie. That's a really great point. And so I think that there is a challenge to, obviously, in normal times, to make your personal brand work. But it's an observation of mine that, I mean, right now, folks, you're listening to us, but Valerie and I can see each other's habitats a little bit here. I mean, she can see that I have my office here, and I have a plant, and I have a Kansas City Chiefs helmet, and I have books and a shelf. I see she's got a lovely piece of art behind her. So there's opportunities there on the Zoom, in this Zoom culture we're in right now, to be authentic without going crazy, like on Twitter with the room rater. I don't know if you've seen the room rater on Twitter, where they like see people on TV and think, okay, your room gets 9 out of 10 or something like that. Is that just ridiculous of me to even mention, though, or on personal branding, though? Should people be really paying attention beyond the obvious about their backgrounds on Zoom and stuff like that?
I don't really believe that the background is the most important. I mean, I've known people who are extremely high up with a lot of money, and I have a friend actually who is multi-millionaire, and picked me up several times with the worst car ever. So if it could be the biggest mistake of their life, because you never know who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And usually people who are doing well are not the ones who are showing off. So they may have the very basic background. And
right. But not even just to demonstrate affluence. I mean, but to just show maybe your personality off,
I believe in if you're yourself, I mean, obviously you can't go on a Zoom in a pajama. That might be a bit much, but it's interesting because I had a client once who was saying, once we finished the session, he was saying, "Oh, great," because I thought I had to start to wear suits, and I said, "Listen, if your product is fantastic, and you can convince people about it, and you've got that strength in you, you could turn up in a company in flip-flops and with your hat, and they'd still go for you, because the people who are already super well dressed, there's so many of them, and they don't always stand out. So sometimes it can raise curiosity. So I think also when you're being yourself, you're more confident when you talk, and people can feel it. But you could also have the perfect background and the perfect clothing and hair, and not being noticed at all, just because you haven't worked on the depth of what's important. So I mean, personally, I'm always a little bit careful, a minimum, like since COVID, I'm doing my own haircut.
Me
So I
too.
always make sure if I've got a podcast that is filmed, I do my haircut about a week before, just in case I miss it. So it's got some time to grow. But that's part of being myself. Like I don't like to present in a complete mess. But some people don't like to this perfectionist side, or that other people present. So I think it's about assessing really what is going to make you successful, and remember what's made you successful. And sometimes you might remember that actually the day you've been the most successful and met the most important people you needed to work with is the day you were not prepared or dressed or in the right place. So it's finding the middle ground.
That's a great point. You know, the difference between a good haircut and a bad haircut is usually about a week to 2 weeks, is what I've found. Valerie, let's change it up. I appreciate that. In our time we have left here, let's go to the big picture. I would love it if you don't mind naming names. Is there a brand that you think is just killing it right now, that is just doing an incredibly good job of doing the things we've talked about today?
Oh God, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Well, I'd say Joe Biden is doing really well, actually, because he's one of the person who's being the most challenged at the moment, and I find incredible, whether it's him or his team, putting the debates and the explanation of all the challenges. If whoever is putting it together, I think is got a very intelligent team, or is being very intelligent the way he's acting on every challenge that are coming up at the very last minute.
You know, say what you will, whether you like him or not. He has, in my opinion, and I'm a student of American politics and history, have been my whole life. He is authentically who he is. He is not a perfect person, and he doesn't pretend to be. He is Joe Biden. He's Joe from Scranton. He is, that. And I think you're right. I had not even thought about Joe, though, as an example of a brand that's, one, authentic, and two, successful, especially in the face of adversity. That is I think, a fantastic example. And on the flip side, and I'm not doing both sidesism here, but Trump, to a degree, he is a brand. I mean, I think he's been a brand his whole life, right? And you can argue with results, but and he has successfully elevated himself to the presidency. Maybe not as the way a lot of people would like it, but the point of, we're just talking about brands here. So I think that's great that you picked Joe, though, because that's a really good point. And I think it's fairly rare when a successful politician doesn't have a bit of a tinge of inauthenticity about them. And to me, Joe is pretty much Joe. I don't know.
I think that's what you were saying earlier on as well, about as you get older, you're less scared of saying certain things, and you can say it with a lot more confidence as well. And if we take the example of Donald Trump, what's interesting is because a lot of people said, yes, but I'm against branding because look at what's going on with Donald Trump. And I always remind them, yes, but it didn't last. So the lack of authenticity made it, authenticity, I don't know, it probably is quite authentic, but the lack of intentions that are the truly good intentions, from what people say, I'm not making any judgments, is what failed him.
Yeah, well, it gets back to, are you delivering on your brand promise, right?
Yeah.
And some would say, yeah, he is. Okay, but anyway, not to throw anybody off. No listeners who, I don't want anybody to be upset that we're talking politics here, but these are exceptional examples, I think. Last question or last section here, Valerie. So if somebody, who's a typical client Stunning Brand works with? Are they big companies, small, everybody? Who do you work with?
Very often it's tech people who, I would say those who are like us the most. Yeah. It's in the tech area, and maybe also because I've got a lot of experience with the tech industry, so I can understand how to translate tech language to human language. And well, at the moment it's a small medium company, but I have experience with very big companies as well, but mostly those who are interested in the future and making a social impact, not just branding.
Right. And if people want to get a hold of you and learn more, they can go to stunningbrand.com. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
and
right.
It's Stunning Brand, not brands, not plural, stunningbrand.com. There'll be a link in the show notes. Valerie, any parting words that anything I forgot to ask you about or that you want to mention before we close up the virtual lounge today?
Well, I would like to say thank you again for having me on the show. It's very interesting what you're doing. I've listened to some of your shows and I really like it, and I like your sense of humor as well. And I think it's been really fun, and hopefully maybe I'll be on it in a few years again.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay. First of all, you've said all the right things.
It's going to grow, I'm sure.
Well, the door is certainly open. Valerie, there's so many, we just scratched the surface. We didn't even really talk about creative branding and mindful brands and all of these things. We will have you back. I just, if you're not too busy, we will have you back. And I would love to have you back. And it has been a delight. I think you are so knowledgeable and charming and fun. And I really appreciate you being on the show.
You see, when you're authentic, you attract your own kind.
This is true. This is great. You're definitely coming back. All right. Well, we'll talk to you next time. Oh, you know what that means? Looks like it's last call here at your virtual lounge for PR news, views, and interviews. Don't forget, you can ask me a question anytime. You can do it through our Twitter account, which is @HoursPR, or even better, you can send me a message vocally. I would love to hear your voice, and I'll answer it on the show. There's a link in the show notes. All you have to do is sign up through Anchor FM. It's free, doesn't take long, and you record your message. I get the message. I will play your audio. Just give me your first name and the city you live in, and then I will answer the question to the best of my ability right here on the show. Don't forget to, if you're enjoying this podcast, you can support it and help increase the frequency and value of the show. Just consider being a sponsor for your brand or your agency or just yourself because you're like, I like this show. Or just drop a few coins in the virtual tip jar. Either way, there's links in the show notes. Please check that out. All of that, of course, being in the show notes where you're listening right now or at prafterhours.com. I see that they're turning up the lights. Last call is over, and I've got to clean up this virtual lounge. And until next time, I'm Alex Greenwood, and you've been listening to PR After Hours on Anchor FM.